1. Context. This apartment is a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 master bedroom and 1 normal bedroom, with 1 washroom. Earlier, we were 3 roommates, 2 living in the master bedroom and 1 in the normal bedroom. The 3rd roommate left after finishing his studies, and neither of us wanted to share the bedroom, so we decided to create a partition down the living room, since it was big enough and was L-shaped, and rent it with very minimal rent, $500 in downtown Ottawa. We found a guy who was behaving weirdly from the start and didn't show up after booking an appointment twice. He negotiated on the rent and we agreed on 450 Canadian dollars, and we didn't look for anyone else. We also had an offer from an older guy who was agreeing to pay more, but since we preferred someone of our age, we didn't continue with the other person. Just a week before moving, this guy started moving his stuff and renegotiated the rent to $425, which I didn't agree with, and he constantly asked for either of us to reduce the rent. And finally, we gave in thinking we still get to not share the bedroom, and also argued that the balcony be private to him, but we didn't agree. Imagine this guy asking for so much for just $425. After he moved in, initially we had a lot of issues as he didn't even flush the toilet, and clogged the toilet multiple times. He spent hours in the washroom, also the common places that we shared. He filled them up, leaving no space for others like the fridge, bringing in stuff from where he worked, probably for free. When 4 months ended, we were done with him and told him it would be better if he could find a new place for himself, as we were not comfortable with him. And both of us decided to not have any other roommate and just live ourselves. He was not ready to leave for 2 months more and asked if he could stay for 2 months. We wanted him gone as soon as possible, but we agreed that he can stay for 2 months more. On the first day of the extended first month, the guy brought his dad to live along with us, without even asking or discussing with anyone. Like not 1 or 2 days, but possibly for 2 months, hopefully not more. When one of us messaged in the group chat that we have about this and asked him for a meeting in the evening, his dad started talking with one of us, and stated that he didn't know his son had not discussed this with anyone, and he said he won't cause any issues, and find a place as soon as possible. He estimated 3 or 4 days. We agreed, and since we had no other choice and kind of understood that we shouldn't let his father feel embarrassed, as he just came into the country and had no place to live, and we didn't have the meeting. It's been more than 10 days, and this guy didn't even apologize, and both of them are still here. Upon asking, he said that they are still looking for an apartment, and will move by the next month. Like, how cheap can you be to have your father live in the embarrassment of living forcefully where he is not welcome? Summer sublets are very cheap, and is a really good solution to their problem, but they don't want to spend money. This guy is still not following the cleaning schedule, and both of us clean the shared spaces. The rent is the same for him, and all the other bills are split 3, not 4. We are just praying that they move out soon and let us live comfortably. Thanks for listening. 2. I am a university student who moved into a house in September 2023 with 5 other people. Or so I thought. Prior to moving in, my housemate told me that the house would be fairly quiet and clean. All was going well, then my housemate, Toby, developed a crush on a girl, Umi, who was in his friendship group at university. Toby had never interacted with a woman before. It took until December 2023 for Toby to confess to Umi, which happened over the Christmas break. Little did we know this was just the beginning. January 2024, winter exams are coming up. All return to university after Christmas. Umi comes here often in the beginning, but we do not really see much of her. She lives in university dorms, shared bathroom and kitchen, whereas we have a house to share, where each room has an ensuite. At first we had no problem, but we asked Toby whether Umi would be here all the time. He convinced us that it would only be on the weekends. After a week, this was evidently untrue. She got louder and louder, especially her laugh, and would go on throughout the night. As the person in the room next to Toby, I took it with a pinch of salt, but then it got to me. I couldn't deal with this anymore. I told him to keep the noise down after 10 p.m., which I thought was reasonable, especially considering she doesn't pay rent to be here. The loud laughing was coming from her, not him. It subsided for a bit, with it getting worse and better every so often. However, in recent times, her infamous laugh can be heard from the 3rd floor of our house. But then, not only did I hear laughing, but I could hear them in the shower together. Almost every day, their shower is also next to my room for reference. I tolerated it because I wanted my friend to be happy, but this was at the expense of my own inner peace. So again, I told him he needs to be quiet. This subsided temporarily. Note, she is not allowed to live in our house. It goes against our tenancy agreement to have additional people there for more than 2 weeks. End of March 2024. This has been going on for about 2 or 3 months at this point. They lived together for the first 3 months of their relationship, and they still live together. There were still no boundaries established. This is when the Easter break rolled around. Everybody had left other than me, Toby, and Umi. One day I walk out of my room and I see a cage on the floor. At first I'm thinking, what the heck? But I know who it had to be. It was Toby and Umi. It could not be anyone else. None of them are animal people. Toby tells me it's a rabbit cage, because Umi wanted a rabbit and so he bought one for both of them. He bought it without consulting the other 4 people that live in the house. Additionally, it is against our tenancy agreement. I was the only one there, so clearly he did this as a way to avoid confrontation with the others, who he knows would say no. This is how he got his way. He explains to me it will only be for the rest of the year until Umi gets a place and the rabbit would live with her, as Toby has resigned to live with us next year. We both leave for Easter. Umi takes the rabbit home with her, and Toby goes back to his home. At the end of April 2024, everybody returns to the house. We forgot about the rabbit initially, then we remembered the rabbit is here and so is she, both of which go against our contract, all of which happened in a span of 5 months. How did we let it get to this point? This is coming up to some very important final exams for university, so we did not want distractions, but she came back with him and the rabbit. When they first got the rabbit, it stayed in their room. However, slowly they decided to put it in the communal living space, the living room, without our consultation. We were not happy, to say the least. We used the living room as a space to relax between studying, watch movies, etc. On top of this, the laughing and noises in the shower returned back to normal. It would occur until the late hours of the morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and a time where I needed to sleep for my important medical school exams. Now, the rabbit roams freely in this house, poops on the floor without them cleaning it, and we fear that we could be getting stomach bugs because of a cross-contamination with the rabbit and them attempting to let it free roam. We have told them not to so many times, but for some reason they believe they can do what they want. As I said, Umi doesn't pay rent. Both unclean, leaving dirty dishes in the sink and allowing cheese, which they use to cook, to burn in the oven without cleaning it. None of us have this problem other than him. Then the cherry on top, he tells us he is moving out to move in with her next year after re-signing the contract to live with us in 24 to 25. He signed this prior to their relationship. But in order for him to do this, he needs to find a replacement tenant. So he attempted to replace himself with a random person that none of us knew. We refused to sign any new contract so that he would be trapped with us unless we find someone that we approve of. So not only was he trying to shaft us with a random person that none of us knew, but he was also trying to save Umi's problem too. So, at the end of this, we have a rabbit, an extra person who isn't paying rent, and the 6 of us living here. All in the span of 5 months. Next year is my final year, counts the most to my degree. Any suggestions on how I could deal with this if the situation continues next year? Any opinions on the situation? Hellfreezer's note, I'm going to assume you met with the person they wanted to move in and you just didn't like them, which is fair enough. So you and your other roommates need to focus on getting somebody in that you can tolerate, even if it's not someone you know personally. Check their background, meet with them, interview them, see whether or not you click, at least enough to be living in a shared space. As for the bunny, if it's going to be there for a while longer, I suggest you see if you can find either a no-kill shelter, or there might even be an organization local to you that specializes in bunnies. Sometimes there are that sort of thing, and take the rabbit to them, and they should be able to rehome it. And if your roommate and his girlfriend complain and wonder where the bunny went, just point out they let it roam around outside of his cage, and the door was left open and the bunny got out. Whatever happens, I wish you luck with it, and good luck with your exams next year. 3. So disclaimer, this is everything my roommate did when she lived with me from my perspective. Before we became roommates, I had a situation with this guy, John. Bloody Johns. John and I met in our first semester of college and hit it off right off the bat. John was a mutual friend of me and my psychotic roommate, which is how we were introduced. Let's call her Short Stack. So Short Stack knew I had a thing for John and was encouraging us to start a relationship, which I thought was nice. Eventually, though, when there was a lull in our relationship, she admitted to liking him. And I backed off because it was looking like a relationship between me and him wasn't gonna happen. I did my best to subtly wingman, and they ended up dating. Right before they made it official, I had met someone new, Tim. Tim and I hit it off right off the bat. He's honestly the most genuine, talented, thoughtful, and interesting guy I've ever met. Anyway, right before John and Short Stack started dating, I got a text from her saying that she had the hots for Tim and asked if he was free game. I was a bit bothered by that, but she respected my answer when I politely told her that Tim and I had something good, and I don't want anyone interfering. At least I thought she respected my answer. Almost a year later, and I had asked her if she wanted to be my roommate so we could both live near school while not having to live on campus. Worst decision ever. She moved in before I did, and when it was my turn to move in, the place was an absolute disaster. Dirty clothes and empty Domino's boxes covered the floor. She had also set up her decorations all over the entire apartment, not really leaving any room for me, which was made worse by the fact that we shared a room. And the apartment was very tiny, so we were basically living on top of each other. I brushed it off, but it never really got any better. Normally I wouldn't be too upset, I'm not a huge neat freak or anything, but it peeved me that she would always point out any mess that I had made. Here's a list of some of her really gross habits. Dirty underwear everywhere, kept old Domino's boxes everywhere, would buy salads and then let them expire, and they would sit there until I took them out. Refused to do any chores or contribute in any way. Our shower didn't fully drain, so hair was often left in the tub, but she never cleaned up after herself, meaning I was scrubbing her pubes out of the tub. Used tissues would be left on the ground, not flushing. I never once saw her do laundry in the 6 months we lived together. I'm sure there's more, but these are just the ones that I remember. To be fair, here were my gross she took issue with. Leaving dishes in the sink for a long time, letting my laundry basket overflow, walking around in a towel after I took a shower. Even when her Tinder dates were over. Mostly because I didn't care and everything was covered, but I also understand that her glares when I would do that were a little deserved. That was the easiest part of living with her that I had to deal with. It got so much worse, and slowly she started to reveal her true colors. She had a job at a jewelry store, got fired, moved to a job at a grocery store across the street, got fired. Bummed around for a few weeks, mostly just sitting on the couch, doing arts and crafts. Tried a Zumba class, quit after 2 sessions. Finally got hired at a movie theater, but she would only work Friday and weekends. All the while, a lot of new things were appearing in our apartment. New makeup, a makeup chair, a tiny plastic dream house, posters and picture frames, lights, you name it. She was also buying pre-made meals and continued to order Domino's and DoorDash, never making her own food. That's around the time that I found a buried letter from our landlord saying she was 2 months behind on rent. Also an honorable mention about her RGB lights. She would keep them on while I was trying to sleep, even when I had to work in the morning, which was most days, and she'd throw a little hissy fit whenever I asked her to turn them off because it was midnight, and I had to get up in a couple of hours. She would constantly be having guys over, but would never tell me. So I'd always come home to a stranger on our couch, and I'd uncomfortably lock myself in our room. Walls were thin, so I had to listen to her awful flirting and occasionally kissing noises. She had made a goal for herself to kiss at least 30 guys so she could write a book about it. It's gonna be a boring book. 1 chapter for each guy. It's funny because the book is coming out soon. I'm not gonna share the name because I don't want to promote an incel's diary, but if you happen to be one of the guys she wrote about, just know that she had said several times her type is generic kinda ugly white guys. I don't think that's her type. I think she just says that because all the super attractive guys she went after shot her down so quick. While she's collecting ugly-ish white guys, her words, she has promised herself to some dude in the military overseas who has a ring with her initials carved into it. His name is Matt. I genuinely hope he sees this, even though the chances are insanely slim, his real name. She's jodying you, my guy, and she wants to elope and marry you to annoy her parents and for financial benefits because she can't keep a job. On top of all this, Tim, you remember Tim, who at this point I had been with for over a year, would come over and visit sometimes. She was always miserable, but perked up and suddenly became so sweet and friendly whenever he was there. Tim kept trying to drop some social cues that he did not want to talk to her, but she ignored it. I also want to mention that Tim is incredibly attractive physically and personality-wise, which is the main reason I think that ugly isn't actually her type, it's just all she can get. Quick mention, one of her Tinder guys was 17. She was close to 20 at the time. She said their age gap made her uncomfortable, but she invited him over because she wanted to, and I quote, lick his abs. Take that as you will. My breaking point with her was when I woke up one day with a random man in the room sleeping next to her. She let a random man from Tinder have full unsupervised access to 2 unconscious girls and all their valuable items. 4. My living situation is something equivocal to a telenovela. I live with my ex and 2 other roommates. One of them is MIA because I called her out and not showering for weeks on end, making a mess everywhere, making the house smell bad, sleeping on the couch and making that also reek of BO. She has left dirty underwear on the couch and the list goes on, but thankfully she is gone. My ex is now my best friend and we get along really well now. I am seeing someone else and he is totally cool with it. They get along really well and it's really cool. My main issue for this post is this roommate who is a complete thorn in my side. My ex and I are both at wit's end with him. He lies about everything. He lies about things that don't matter at all. He lies so often that they don't match up with the lies he has told other people. He is always about himself and is beyond selfish. His cat needed surgery, and the first thing he did when he walked into the pet ER after seeing the initial quote was, "I cannot afford that. Let's take him and go home." This was after hours of me literally nurturing this poor kitten as much as I could. The veterinary staff was explaining to him all of the financial options and that there are resources out there to help cover costs. He kept cutting the staff off with his nonsense. Eventually, my ex and I had to convince him to fill out an application for discounted services. The application was estimated to take about 45 minutes, and all he did the entire time was sigh and complain about how hard it was and he is stressed, which was beyond irritating. Moreover, the kitten got surgery and is doing very well now. I ended up doing most of the medication administration and aftercare, which I only did because it was an animal in need and I am not a monster. His sister got a major surgery. He didn't check in on her. He did, however, call her and ask for a ride the day after her procedure. Their brother flew in from across the country to assist in the care of their sister, and he hadn't made an effort to see him for over a month. He eats all the food, literally all of it. Anything that I get for food I have to hide in my room because otherwise he'll get too stoned and eat it all. He also expects me or another roommate to cook for him. He doesn't directly say it, but insinuates it with his words. He has sexually assaulted myself and another roommate while he was extremely intoxicated, and claims to have no recollection of it. He is very creepy with girls and says things that are very disturbing. He says borderline homophobic, racist, and misogynistic comments regularly. He's also made comments about the age of consent being lowered. He thinks he has his family to support him. I have been in contact with his siblings and mother. Yes, I am his roommate and I acquired their numbers of his family from them. They reached out to me and provided their information when we first moved in together, which I should have seen as a red flag immediately. He sexually assaulted his partner's sister in front of the entire family because he was too drunk with the premise of, "You really want a man and I look like my sister, so you want me." So clearly he cannot stay with them. His brother has had it with him and loves him from a distance, so to speak. Their mother moved into a 55-plus community to ensure he can't stay with her. She is a mom and, well, loves her son but is also fed up. He has done some very questionable acts in the past. Things including taking medication from seniors in a senior living facility and selling them, and taking them to get high, drinking and driving regularly, to the point where he got in a car accident. Which the story about that changed like 5 times as well. Without car insurance, and he had to pay for all of it out of pocket just to get drunk a few days after getting his car repaired and drove home. He has also struggled with addiction most of his life. Normally I would be understanding of that, however he takes no accountability, nor does he even think that anything is wrong. He'll acknowledge his addictions, but sees nothing wrong with it. He can't deal with life sober at all. He lies about everything. It's so often, and it's hard to tell reality from fable. We try and find nice things about him, but honestly, with how consistently he lies and how questionable he acts, it is very difficult to oversee that. I could go on and on about how this guy lives and drives me up the wall. Our lease is up in a few months. I am very much so aware of the fact that he has nowhere to go. Oh, he also got an eviction notice from a previous landlord shortly after we got approved for our current apartment. That basically solidifies the fact that he has nowhere to go. I need roommates to fill the spaces. He also has kittens, and I am actually fearful for their future because of his blatant negligence for life. He makes money to pay rent, but is an absolute nightmare. I'm in a pickle. SOS. Hellfreezer's note. You need to kick this person out. I mean, he's already assaulted you and your roommate once. He will do it again. He has a history of it, as you said. It doesn't matter if he has the money. When it's time for the lease to be renewed, don't let him renew. Kick him out, get someone else in. A complete stranger, quite frankly, would probably be better. I mean, not guaranteed to be better, but probably. If you keep him there, you're just putting yourself in danger. I'd encourage him to leave the cats when he goes, because you're the one that seems to be taking care of them anyway. I wish you luck with it. 5. Hey all, looking for some advice on my terrible roommate. More so on how to cope and deal with things, because I'm very passive when it comes to confrontation, but I don't want to let things slide, because it's gone just too far. So, my boyfriend and I'm a 19-year-old woman, and my boyfriend is 21. We have a roommate living with us who is also a 21-year-old male, and unfortunately this roommate of ours is my boyfriend's best friend, so I can't really kick him out. My boyfriend put his name on the lease too, and it kills me that he did that. That being said, I have to tolerate this man-child behavior. Let me just start with the hygiene. This man's hygiene I wouldn't say is the worst there is. He takes showers and brushes his teeth, and when I say that's all there is to it, that's all there is to it. He doesn't clean his room, and mind you, he basically lives in his room, so there is garbage and dirty and clean clothes strung out everywhere. He literally refuses to do his laundry. He'll go through all his clean clothes, and when he needs something clean to wear, he will go to the store and just buy a new shirt and a pair of pants for work the next day. And this is where I start to get irked. He will spend days, maybe even weeks, not speaking to me, and within that time he'll make nasty faces at me and just walks around me like I don't exist. Then has the major audacity to come to me asking if I can do his laundry for him. And this isn't the first time he's done it. He sucked me into it before, and I kind of felt bad for him, so I said yes, and he piled laundry on me. I spent $40 on laundry that day, $2.50 to wash and $2.50 to dry, so that's $5 per load of laundry. Yeah, I did that for a grown man who's not my son or my significant other. Wild. But this time I said no. I will not do your laundry, and so he's back to the silent treatment, which is fine by me because I hate talking to him anyways. It's basically like talking to a brick wall. His room smells so bad to the point where my boyfriend makes it a point to tell me to open a window and open the bedroom door and air out the room while he's gone at work. I open the window and refuse to leave his room open because it makes the rest of the apartment smell like a dead possum in a skunk's butthole inside of a landfill. Second, he's a major alcoholic. I kid you not, I just walked out into my kitchen 10 minutes ago, and as he does every morning, he throws away his alcohol bottles from the night before. He just threw away a whole entire bottle of Peach Crown, yesterday it was Tito's, and a crap ton of seltzers into the garbage. And it finally clicked in my brain why he takes the garbage immediately after. He's trying to be sneaky. He thinks I don't see it, but I do. I see and notice a lot more than he thinks, I just don't say anything. Plus, he has no intention on ever putting a bag in the garbage can, which is annoying considering that it's the only thing he does around here and he can't even do the full job. He's just lazy. He leaves his dishes he cooked with on the stove, he piles dishes. I'm stay-at-home at the moment, so I don't mind cleaning up after my boyfriend and I. But he's not a part of our package, and he doesn't get nor deserve the benefits I bring to the table when it comes to our home's cleanliness. It's exhausting cleaning up after someone who I couldn't care less about. He's a grown man with no girlfriend, lives on a schedule of go to work, come home, get drunk, play video games, smoke weed and repeat. But yet he gets to have home-cooked meals for dinner every night without lifting a finger. Everything that's housework is done for him. He lives under our roof and only pays $300 a month, and doesn't have to pay for food or utilities or anything of the sorts. Then his excuse that he uses to get my boyfriend and I to feel bad for him and help him with things that any adult should be doing on a daily, definitely by now, is that he's depressed. Yeah, no kidding. It shows, and be a big boy and do something about it instead of having everything handed to you. Anyways, those are a few things I'm just gonna list. Here are some other things in bullets because it's easier that are nasty or disrespectful. He tracks water all over the bathroom when he gets out of the shower and doesn't clean it up. Never asks or talks to one of us unless he needs something. A white male, walking around using the N-word, no, I don't mean Nutella. Doesn't come out of his room when dinner is ready and waits till my boyfriend and I aren't in the common areas anymore to get his food. Then doesn't put the leftover food away, which has resulted in my boyfriend and I wasting a crap ton of money from having to throw away food. Hisses at my cat, calls my dog the N-word, doesn't lift a single finger to help out around here, takes his shoes off in the doorway and just leaves them so I trip over them, does not feel the need to let either my boyfriend or I know that he's leaving or having someone over. He's brought a crack whore into our home before, and I found out by running into her on my way to the bathroom. Any advice or comments would be much appreciated. Really struggling for my sanity about now. Elfreezer's note, I think the opportunity here is, as he is on the lease, he is presumably as equal a tenant as the other two of you are. Figure out how much longer you've got on your lease, and then you and your boyfriend start looking for a place that's just the two of you. Do not let the roommate talk his way into coming with you. One thing I'm confused by, though, is how is he getting home-cooked meals? I mean, surely you're not cooking for him. If you are, that has to stop now. That has to stop today, immediately. As you say, he's a grown man, he can fend for himself. I feel bad for him because he's depressed, but the fact is there is a multitude of resources out there for people. He should avail himself of them. Even if it's not convenient for him to go out to see a therapist in person, you can start with the online services, and it might be enough to kind of kick him into healthier mental attitudes. It's good you've stopped doing his laundry, stop doing anything at all for him, and just ignore his existence. If he wants to ignore you, then that can go two ways. But essentially what it boils down to is you either need to tell him it's time to leave, whether he's on the lease or not, or find a place that you and your boyfriend can be in together. And obviously that would be dependent on the length of your current lease, as I mentioned earlier. I hope it all works out for both of you, and I actually hope your roommate gets some help as well, because he's struggling clearly, but he's dealing with it in entirely the wrong way. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 17, and thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button and share the video with friends and family. If you would like early access to these videos, then you can get them all on a Monday, all at once, by supporting me on my Patreon page for as little as $1 or more if you wish a month. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store in the description, and a link to the Hellfreezer Discord if you'd like to join us over there. If you really enjoyed today's video, you can leave a tip by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath. And while that is not necessary, I very much appreciate it, and it really does help. Okay, I don't think we have any other business today, so let's move right along to today's question and answer of the day. And today's question is, now that we're moving more into the hotter weather, more in gardening season again, is there a job in your garden, needs to be done that you're putting off because you really don't want to do it? Like, I have these large trees in my garden and I need to cut one of them down. And the other one, which I've mentioned before, which is about as big as the house, as big as the house that I live in, needs to be about half the size it is. And I don't know how I'm going to do that safely, but doing it myself is literally the only option. So that's mine. Why don't you let me know what some of yours are in a comment below. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And this was in relation to the preferred type of luggage when you go on a plane trip. Is it hard shell or the soft ones? I am essentially using you guys to get advice for my upcoming trip, because I have no clue at all what to do. And help is always appreciated in that regard. And today's answer comes from Ishmex. I hope I got that right. I apologize if I didn't. Both types have merit. It really depends on how long your trip is. My parents and I traveled to Finland in 21. We had 2 soft shell, 1 carry, 1 check, and 2 hard shell suitcases, also 1 carry, 1 check. We brought home a lot of stuff since we hadn't been in 20 years. And I'm not exaggerating when I say a third of 1 checked case was rye bread. I also had a soft backpack as a personal item. If you're doing multiple flights, I suggest a hard shell, especially if you plan to take souvenirs to or from that could be considered delicate. I also do recommend a soft backpack for a personal item, because it will easily fit under the seat in front of you, and can have all your need-to-reach items in there. This is helpful if your carry-on needs to be gate-checked at any point. Thank you very much for your answer. That is super-duper helpful. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.